My mom and I were talking about Thanksgiving, and she told me that one of her guests was bringing cherry yum yum. And then she added, but we can't have that. And once she said that, I became really determined that, well, we could have that. And sure, we could have the high carb version if we chose to, but I'm not going to choose that option. What I decided to do instead was make it low carb. Okay, cherry yum yum. Cherries are really high in carbs, so that's why I have 64 grams of chopped fresh cherries. Now I'm using chopped fresh Bing cherries. And the carb count, let me turn this down, the carb count does vary by the type of cherry. So I'm putting my cherries in a skillet. I'm adding a half cup water. I had this warming. You should have it on low heat, but I wanted it warm so that we can move quickly on this recipe. Don't do what I just did. So I added a half cup water and my Bing cherries. And then I have gelatin. I'm just using unflavored Great Lakes gelatin, and I only have a teaspoon. I want to push the cherries aside and add it to the water while it's relatively cool. I'm going to keep stirring as I add because the last thing I want is that gelatin to clump up. So keep stirring as you get it all in there, and it shouldn't clump. It didn't when I made this before. Okay, so I've added just a teaspoon. You don't want it to be jello-like. You just want the gelatin to thicken it. And of course, it won't thicken while it's warm. In addition to that, I have cranberries. Now, cranberries are not a family favorite necessarily, but I'm using the cranberries to stretch the cherry flavor. Now, you could make this whole thing lower carb by simply using all cranberries, or you could make it lower carb by using a different fruit. Raspberries, if I used 100 grams of raspberries, I think it's 12 carbs. As it is, the cherries do add a lot of carbs. So if you're not going specifically for the cherry flavor, and in fact, the next time I make this, I'll probably use raspberries because they are so much lower in flavor. Blueberry, or lower in carbs. Blueberries are a little higher, but you could use those too. And my mother-in-law makes this as a blueberry yum yum. A funny story about that. Okay, to this, what's going to give this a flavor is going to be cherry extract. Now I have our cherry flavoring. I have the Frontier brand, and I'm going to use it in the different layers, but this is the brand I have, Frontier. It's a cherry flavoring, and it's quite good. I bought it on Amazon, and I'll put the link in the recipe. I'm going to add the extract to it. I'm going to turn this up a little bit. We want it to get warm enough. You want to keep it on low heat, but we want it to get warm enough that the fruit softens. So the cranberries should pop. In fact, you can hear them as you let it go. You'll hear them pop open. So there's the cherry extract. I'm going to also add some vanilla extract. It's just a quarter to a half teaspoon. It's not much, but vanilla, you can never go wrong with vanilla, right? And as it cooks, and like I said, I turned it, had it too warm in the beginning, then I turned it too low. But as this cooks, the cranberries will pop, and you'll hear them pop open. And the cherries, by the way, I have them chopped in pretty small pieces. I wanted to stretch that cherry flavor as much as I could. But those will pop, and you may have just heard that one popped. These will pop open and they will soften. And so you want to let them go for long enough that they're tender. And when I made this, my husband and daughter, Grace and David, loved it. In fact, they were fighting over it in the kitchen. I had to get my mom voice going and warn them that if they broke the dish, they were both in big trouble. But David did not realize there were cranberries in this because the flavor of the cherry really took over. So I don't think, even if you don't like cranberries, the cranberries, I'm using that to lower the overall carb count. So let's let this simmer a little bit, and then I'll show you, we are going to add some sweetener, and I'm going to use 3 tablespoons of powdered sweetener. This is the sucrin milis. It will thicken the fruit up just a bit. You don't have to use that. You can use a powdered sweetener. I'd be a little concerned that a granulated sweetener would stay gritty, and so that's why I'd powder it, or just use a liquid sweetener. And I think that's what I did the first time I made this, was just use a liquid sweetener. I'm gonna let this simmer for another 3 or 4 minutes, and then I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, I've been letting this go for a good, probably 5 to 8 minutes. In fact, I let it go too long because I was busy doing other things. I don't have my mic on. Let me do that real quick. Sorry, I let this go for about 5 to 8 minutes. I was busy doing other things. I'm going to add, so I did add more water, a 1/3 cup more water. If it gets too thin, just add more water. And then I'm going to add my 3 tablespoons of sweetener to it and stir that in. Get all the goodie out. And then I'm also going to add some salt. Salt just brings out the flavor. That was just like a 1/4 teaspoon, so you don't have to add it if you don't want it, but trust me, it just helps to intensify the flavor. Now I'm going to taste this for sweetness and see if I need to add any liquid sweetener. It's still really runny. And so you're probably going to be like, what was she thinking? Why did she add the extra sweetener? The extra water. What I really want it to do is cover a dish that is, I'm using an 8x8, but you could use a 9x9. And I have a small rectangular dish that was my grandmother's that I really like to use. Glass dishes work nicely for this because you can see the layers. All right, let's test it for sweetness. That's pretty sweet. I'm going to add 3 drops of liquid sweetener, even though, you know what, that may actually have been okay. I might not need it. Okay, now the last thing I'm going to add, and this is optional, but because I want it to be thick, and I'm going to add glucomannan. The glucomannan I use is cognac. It doesn't have any impact on blood glucose. And this, I've had this for probably a year. Got it from Amazon, so it lasts a long, long time. And similar to the gelatin, you want to sprinkle it over. Don't dump it in because it'll be gloppy and gloopy. It'll be a mess, and stir it as you're putting it in. Now, glucomannan will not thicken until it cools, and so I'm using, I think it's a 1/2 teaspoon. I'll put it, of course, in the recipe, but make sure that you don't overdo it because you might look at that and go, well, gosh, that's still pretty runny. Trust me, as it cools, it will definitely thicken. Now, I turned the heat off of this, and when I added the sweetener, I'm gonna set it aside and let it cool. Let's go make the other layers. Okay, in the interest of time, I've started with 8 ounces or 1 full cup of heavy cream. I'm just whipping it up into whipped cream. Really simple, guys. And let me turn that off in case you couldn't hear me. I just took 1 cup of heavy cream and I'm whipping it up with my beaters. I got a jump start on it. It's still really thin, so let's keep going. I haven't used any stabilizers, nor do I feel like I really need to. I am going to add, as it starts to thicken, I am going to add some liquid sweetener to it. It took it a while to thicken yesterday. It's a different kind of cream I'm using, and I think it's the cream. It may just not have as high a milk fat. You really want heavy cream and not heavy whipping cream if you can find it, because heavy cream has a higher percentage of milk fat, and it's just going to whip up and stay whipped much more nicely. But I know we all just do the best we can with finding those ingredients. I just added 4. And there's 6 drops of liquid sweetener. Use your preferred sweetener. Now, this is not a difficult dish to make, a difficult recipe at all, but I will honestly say it messes up every dish in the house. Okay, you can see that really starting to thicken now. And now that I have it thickened, I'll set it aside. Like I said, this is not difficult to make, but it messes up every dish in the house. Okay, I'm going to switch from that, and you can see what it looks like. It's pretty firm, doesn't move. And I'm going to whip up my cream cheese. This is 8 ounces of cream cheese. When you're getting cream cheese, make sure you're getting the cream cheese that is 1 carb per serving. The Sam's Club version has it, and the the Sam's Club Philadelphia cream cheese as 1 total carb. I'm adding a 1/3 cup of sweetener. You don't have to use the granulated sweetener at all. You can just use liquid sweetener. And I'm going to taste it for sweetness in just a bit and see if it needs more, but that's it. I'm adding to this 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. Not very much at all, it's just a couple drops. Kind of hurts my feelings. And I'm going to add to it 1.5 teaspoons of cherry extract. Now I know we use cherry extract in our fruit, but this is called, or I call this, layering the flavors. You're getting that subtle cherry flavor in these layers and in the fruit layer. All right, trying to get all that goodness out. Now let me stop and scrape down the sides a little bit. So that's just cream cheese and sweetener and my extracts. That's it so far. That needs blending a little more. And then we'll add the cream. It smells really good. All right, let's add in our cream. And there's a little drop of cherry trying to get away, and I can't get it. Ah, I got it. It didn't get away. All right, let's add the heavy cream in, and then we'll whip it some more. You're not going to use Cool Whip. That is full of yucky stuff. So you want to use whipped cream. My mother calls this cherry yum yum, and I grew up, you know, of course, it's always at the church luncheons. Hey, Jonathan. Sure, you're welcome to help. Let me get this whipped up, and then you can help me with the crust. How's that?
Okay.
Is that a plan?
Okay.
Can you take the, well, it's already off. All right, this is cherry yum yum. Did you have any yesterday? Dad and Grace got it all, I think. Sure. And I'll scrape down the sides. Yep. All right, keep it down in there and let's turn it off. There you go. And let's scrape the sides down. You want to try it? It tastes like cherries. You want to try?
Sure. Why does it taste like cherries?
Because I added cherry extract. You want to just take your finger? There you go. Is it sweet enough?
It's pretty sweet.
Pretty sweet?
It's good.
Is it good? It is good. You did a good job mixing that up. All right, let's try to, we'll get all the goodie off that. If we don't, you know who will be in it, right?
Yeah.
Who?
Me.
You? I figured you'd say Dad.
Dad.
Dad and Grace fought over it. That's why you didn't get any yesterday. Do you know that there's only like 2 little pieces from yesterday left in the fridge?
Really small.
Mm-hmm. All right, we'll scrape that down more later. All right, you gonna help me with the crust?
No thanks.
Well, alrighty then. Okay, for the crust, I have the, thanks Jonathan, I have the food processor out. If you don't have a food processor, you can do this by hand, but it's just a lot easier to use the food processor. I'm going to use hazelnut flour, and this is a 1/2 cup of hazelnut flour. I'm using it because it's lower carb than almond flour, so I'm going to dump it in. I'm also going to dump in some salt, 1/4 teaspoon, and some cinnamon. That's totally optional. 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. It just gives it a nice flavor, and you probably won't know it's there, but if you don't care for cinnamon, leave it out. Or cinnamon. Put in some butter. This is a 1/2 of a stick, or 4 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to add sweetener. 1/3 cup sweetener, and oat fiber. This is 1/4 cup plus 1 tablespoon of oat fiber, and that's all we do. Put this into your food processor and let it go. Oops. Now, it's going to make like sand, so it's going to be thick and coarse. When you get it out, oh, and also, hang on, you may want to also add, generally I add some vanilla to this. Jonathan, can you hand me the vanilla? Thank you, dear. I'm going to put a couple drops. And then can you put maybe 4 liquid drops in there?
In there.
A couple drops of vanilla in here. Just do 3 or 4 drops of that sweetener. You don't want to use a lot of granulated sweetener. There you go. Thank you. Because you don't want it to be gritty. It really would taste like sand. And I don't know if you guys can see it. I'll get a spatula, but it's starting to take on that pebble-looking consistency. Do you see it? Does it look like sand?
It looks like granola.
It does kind of look like granola. Jonathan says, it looks like granola. Hey, that may be an idea, right? All right, let's take a peek at it. Yeah, it looks a lot like sand or granola. What do you think?
Granola.
Granola. It's in little pieces. It's kind of clumpy. I mean, see, it's kind of, that's why I call it sandy. And you can keep processing and make it thicker. I like it actually kind of clumpy. You can try it. Tell me if it tastes good. It's hazelnuts primarily. Yeah, you're not going to put the whole thing in your mouth. He just licks it with his tongue. In the interest of time, what I did was I took some crumbs I had already made and I pressed them into this 8x8 dish. So that's what you would do. You would take this out. You want to reserve 2 tablespoons, so set aside 2 tablespoons, but press in the bulk of it into your dish. And again, a glass dish works so much better, but because we're taking this off for Thanksgiving, we're using this. Now, this is what we're going to do next, Jonathan. We're going to take, hang on, let me show you something. We're going to split it in half, because you only want to use half, and otherwise I'll use too much. And we're just going to spread it over the top. Can you help with that piece?
Yeah.
Okay, you spread. Ooh, you have to be really gentle with it. See how that came up? That makes a huge mess. So, yeah, let me, hold on a second. Let me get a different spoon. You can only use a little pressure. There you go. And I'm gonna put what worked best for me when I was doing this before. You can take the crust and put it in the fridge, and it actually sets up a bit. The other thing is just to put in a little bit at a time, and then you aren't having to smooth. Hang on, Jonathan. We're gonna, hold on, sweetheart. We're gonna have new crust right there. Let's try to fix that hole. There we go.
But in doing that, you also pulled up some more.
Yeah, it's not a perfect system. Let me dollop it on, and maybe you use this spoon, okay? Because that was maybe a little too heavy. Hang on, baby. This is hard to do. Yeah.
Icing sticks to the spoon.
It does. The crust is sticking. Hang on, let go.
Icing sticks to the spoon, and it also sticks to the crust.
Yeah, you have to be careful with this part, with the crust. Like I said, you want to half it, and then just put a little at a time, and then with a really gentle hand, smooth it out like that. Let me get you to help me with the fruit part. If it's cool, can you check on the fruit and see if it's cooled?
Where?
It's over on the stove.
Why would it be cold on the stove?
Well, hopefully it's cooled a little bit since I was messing with it. And what you'll see that the struggle Jonathan had was the struggle I had yesterday. You want to stretch it out as you're putting it down, because it's not easy to smooth it out and keep your crust intact. Is it good?
Well, I mean, it's room temperature.
Okay, you want to bring it over? So you're going to smooth this out, and like I said, use a gentle hand. The back of my spoon is working better than spatula, but I could have used more butter. Thank you, Jonathan. I could have used more butter to make it stay in. Is it okay? Yeah, it's still kind of warm, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to use about half of this. And then, guess what we're going to do next? Can you tell me? Because you didn't pay any attention while I was making this before, did you?
No.
No. So what do you think we're going to do next?
We'll put something on it.
What are you going to put on top of the white?
More granola.
Not granola.
That.
Yeah, the fruit. The fruit. So when the fruit is cool, and I'll test it, if you get it too warm, you know, it melts the cream and the cream cheese, so that's not a good thing.
Okay.
All right, so that's good. Yeah, give it a stir. Ooh, it's gotten thick, so it definitely has cooled. Hang on a second, can I see it? All right, hang on. Oh yeah, definitely cooler. And it's got that thick syrup to it. Do you want to try it?
Nah.
Okay. What you can do with this is just take the spoon and spread it over. Can you do it? Hang on a second. Let me switch it up so that'll be easier for you. There you go. Good job. Does it smell good?
Mm.
Oh, you've got a cold. You can't smell anything, I'm sure. There we go. Just kind of pouring it over. There, that works. That's teamwork, isn't it? And at this point, I'm going to try and get all that goodie out. All right, give the spoon to Dad. Thank you. There we go. Now, what's the easiest way to spread this, you think?
There's no easy way.
There is no easy way. All right, yep, I'm trying to get all the goodie out. Man, we counted those carbs. We're going to have to eat them. Okay. All right, hold on a second, Jay. Yeah, there you go. Easy, just real gentle. Yeah. And you're not going to have a really thick layer of fruit, right?
Mm.
No. Good job. You did it. But spread it out. The high carb version uses a canned fruit. I should let you try that. And we don't want to use the canned fruit because it's going to have cornstarch.
So is it going to harden?
It will firm up, yes, because I had some gelatin in it. And so it'll firm up in the fridge. But before it firms up, what are we going to do next?
Put some more granola on it.
Not granola yet.
Put more frosting.
Put more frosting. Put more cream. Did you know that grandmother calls this cherry yum yum? And again, I'm going to have to go a little at a time.
Wait,
let me get another spoon.
Are you just going to do like granola frosting now?
Yeah, I'm going to sprinkle it. I'm just going to sprinkle that what you're calling granola topping. But grandmother always called this cherry yum yum. And Hunter's grandmother is making this for Thanksgiving. And grandmother loves it, but it's high carb. So this is a low carb version that she can have. Some people call this cherries in the snow.
Wait, Hunter's going to be there?
Yeah. Some people call this cherries, what did I say? Cherries in the snow? Berries in the snow? Why do you think they would call it that?
Because that white stuff looks like snow.
That white stuff does look like snow. And I'm not getting it quite to the edges, but it's kind of pretty with the red peeking out, isn't it? What do you think?
Yeah.
Are you going to try any of this?
No. It looks like pizza a little bit.
It looks like pizza. The cherries could be tomato sauce.
Yeah.
And it's not perfect. What is Mom doing?
You're not spreading it to the edges.
I'm not getting it quite to the edges, but I'm also getting a little bleed over, aren't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And
can I sprinkle the granola?
Yes, absolutely. You can sprinkle the granola. I never thought of it as granola, and you're calling it granola, and I guess in a way that makes sense. And again, you just want to smooth this over the top. How are we doing?
Good.
David says the cream part is his favorite. I'm using my finger there.
We got double cream on it, so.
Yeah, it's got a layer on the top and a layer on the bottom, right?
I think you might want to make more cream.
Do what?
I think you might want a little bit more cream.
Yeah, I'm going to have to stretch this cream, aren't I?
So where's the spoon? I can help.
Hold on. Let me get the last of this. Maybe I shouldn't have licked my finger so much. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to have to thin it a little bit.
Yeah. That's funny because when I made it yesterday, it was perfect. Like it covered, I think I used too much on the bottom layer. Oh well, maybe some of the cherries are peeking out in the snow. What do you think?
I think I can have a little bit more there.
All right, I'll let you work on that.
Well,
Jonathan says he thinks he can put a little more. Ideally, you're going to have white all over. I don't know exactly what I did wrong, but I have a feeling we didn't split it evenly between the bottom layer and the top.
Just
And
a little bit more.
Yes, thank you. I'll use this finger since I've been licking this one. I'm trying to get the video done. It's actually Thanksgiving morning, and I'm trying to get this video done quickly so that I can share it.
Just scrape the sides.
Yeah, we're gonna make it fit together, aren't we? Reckon we could get anything off of the beaters?
Yeah, probably.
There we go. We're getting there, Jonathan. The important thing is we get to share it, and it's low carb, and we stay right on plan. Okay. I probably, hang on, let me try to fill in a few little holes. This isn't gonna look very pretty to take to grandmother's, is it?
No, but at least we tried.
And like
it's gonna taste great.
And like I said, when I made it before, it was perfect. It was picture perfect. Thank goodness I do have pictures, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And my grandmother always said that ugly eats just fine, so maybe that will count for something. All right, I'm spending enough time doing that. Hit it with the granola. Good job. And Jonathan's this is about 2 tablespoons, and he's just sprinkling it over. Good job. And it's just gonna be enough to give you a crunch when you cut into it. Now we'll cover this after Jonathan gets it all on there. We'll cover this and we'll set it in the fridge, and it really only needs to set up for about 45 minutes to an hour. And over time, of course, it's gonna be more dense. You need to get at least 9 servings out of this, and it's gonna be about 5 total carbs per serving, which is really on the high side for me. So I hope that if you make this for your family, that you enjoy it too. Thank you, Jonathan.
Wait, how much is a serving?
Well, 1/9 of it. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Can you imagine 1/9? Thanks for your help.